Welcome. I am your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. And man, what a way to start the day. Now, our first guest may be known to many as Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump or Detective Mac Taylor from CSI NY. But as founder of the Gary Sinise Foundation, he's carrying out his life's mission of supporting the men and women who serve our country. From building specially adapted smart homes for the severely wounded to performing spirit-lifting concerts with his Lieutenant Dan Band on military bases to traveling World War II vets to the World War II Museum in NOLA, and so much more, honestly. He lives by the belief that while we can never do enough to show our gratitude to our nation's defenders, we can always do a little more. Here today to discuss his passion for giving back through his foundation and its latest program, Snowball Express, actor, humanitarian, the great Gary Sinise is here. How about that, everybody, huh? How about that? It's fantastic. He'll be out in just a second, but first we have a beautiful video about Snowball Express, so let's go ahead and run that clip.
Great things start with very simple beginnings, and our simple beginning started with a last letter from a soldier to his wife, in which he asked his wife to keep his promise to their kids to take them to Disney World. And that letter was the simple beginning to what has grown into this family.
To be able to support these children and to let them know they're appreciated, to let them know we're grateful and that we don't forget what their parents have gone through and what their families are going through is it's a blessing to be able to do that. Now we're going to take it to another level.
When families first heard about our new association with the Gary Sinise Foundation, they were very excited. He's been a longtime supporter and is very passionate of the Snowball families.
I'll do anything for these kids, anything for the Gold Star family so that they know that we never forget. And it's a great honor and privilege to be able to take Snowball Express into the Gary Sinise Foundation as one of our programs.
This is my 4th year.
We've been coming for about 4 years.
Yeah, both of us. 4 years, the same with him.
This is my 4th year coming to Snowball.
We are to give these families and these kids our very best because these families gave us their very best. This is the VIP of VIPs.
We affect the lives of over 1,500 children annually, and it grows every year.
I've watched some of these kids grow up over the last 10 years right in front of my eyes, and it's always very moving to see them enjoying themselves and having a good time and forgetting about everything.
Now that Snowball Express is part of our foundation, it is my great pleasure to announce something very, very special. We are moving the Snowball Express 4-day annual experience to the happiest place on earth, Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Every one of these families deserves a bit of magic in their lives, and it is the Gary Sinise Foundation's honor to provide them with just that. That's why we need your help. Together with your support, these Gold Star families will share an unforgettable experience. So thank you for your belief in our mission. We hope we can count on you once again. God bless you.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Sinise. Come on. Wow. Wow. Gary, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Build. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm great.
You doing great?
Yeah.
You having a good time in New York?
Yeah, I enjoy the snow. I'm from California, so
This was fun.
It's not too bad, not too bad. Well, I'm very excited that you're here today. We've got a lot of wonderful things to talk about. I want to start, of course, with Snowball Express, especially after that wonderful, wonderful video. That gives a little bit of context. Have you been involved with Snowball Express from the beginning? When did you get started with them?
There was an event in 2006 at Disneyland. It was the first event, and right after that event, some of the guys that started wanting to bring these Gold Star children to Disneyland. They came, they called me up and asked me if they could come meet with me in my office and tell me about what they'd done. So they did. I was shooting CSI New York at that time. They came to my office there, and they told me about this. And you know, supporting our Gold Star kids has been something that I'd been very, very interested in and active in. And I jumped on board then, took my band there in 2007, and have been a big, big supporter ever since. We moved from Disneyland, where we did it initially for 3 years, to Dallas, and we've been in Dallas for 9 years. And now we're going to take the kids to Disney World, and it's going to be a beautiful thing for them.
That's pretty incredible. Were you by chance able to be present when some of the kids or families found out that this year was the year they were going to Disney? Have you seen any videos or anything yet of those reactions?
I've seen a few. I've had some of the families contact me. We just announced it yesterday. So we just sent an email blast to all the families to let them know, and I've heard from a few of them. I saw one video of one mother sitting in her car. She had her camera, her phone on the kids, and she said, "Guess where we're going with Snowball Express? Disney World." This 2 kids went completely crazy in the car. Yeah.
Fantastic. You know, doing it over a decade, what would you say is your favorite part of the whole 4-day experience?
Well, this is, look, we've got thousands of children that have lost a mom or a dad in the wars. This current conflict has been going on since 2001. So children have been losing parents in these wars for quite a number of years now. And unfortunately, we have thousands and thousands of them. So, you know, what this event does, and there's another organization called TAPS that is very, very hands-on with, in terms of our grieving families. What we do is we bring these children together so that they can meet other children that are going through the same thing, and they go through this bonding and healing, and it becomes very, very emotional and very powerful, because so many of these kids see that they're not alone. What they're going through because of the loss of a mom or a dad in military service is something that many, many other children are going through. But not only that, we provide this fun, this hope, these new memories for the kids, and it's just a very uplifting thing that we do with them right before Christmas time. It's a tough time for the kids going into the holiday season, and bringing them together is a real gift, not only for them, but for us and the people that get to give something back to them.
Well, that was just it, and I believe we have an image, too, of you greeting, it looks like you're greeting some of the kids at the airport, I believe, when they first arrive. I believe that's what this is. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's in Dallas.
This is in Dallas.
And I have to mention American Airlines, because American Airlines is our supporting sponsor of this. For years now, from the very beginning, American Airlines has been providing the transportation. So, early on, it was a few airplanes and tickets. Now it's 12 charter airplanes from all over the country, plus multiple tickets from all over the country if you can't get to a charter. And these airplanes arrive, and the kids come off, and there's a huge support there for them, a lot of fun, big celebrations from the moment they get on the airplane to the moment they go home.
Yeah, I was reading about their partnership. Remarkable, the amount they donated, the planes, the stewardess have donated their time, the pilots, everybody has all surrounded to support this cause. And obviously so, it's a beautiful thing to bring all these people together, especially at that time of year.
All the flight attendants, all the pilots, they donate all their time. It's very, very special to be able to see these kids have a good time.
So This is the first year that we're bringing it to Disney World, which is amazing. And I wanted to ask you about, because it's significant. It's not just because it's Disney World. Of course, the kids are excited. But I think in the grand story of the Snowball Express story, it's a hugely significant moment, because this was the request in that letter that sort of sparked the entire program. And so, what does it feel like this year to be able to honor that exact request for so many families and so many kids?
Well, that's how it started.
Yeah.
There was a letter. Some of the original guys that got it started decided to capitalize on that and make something happen for some families, and so that's why it started at Disneyland in Anaheim, and we were there for 3 years. Dallas is the hub of American Airlines, so we moved it to Dallas. We had a ton of support in Dallas. We've been there for 9 years. Now we're going into our 13th year. And I've had a long relationship with Disney. I've narrated a lot of content there, and done some films, and I did a ride on Disney and Epcot, all this stuff. And there's just no better, more fun place to take kids than Disney World. Everybody turns into a kid when you go there. And it's a lot of fun, and we just had it in the back of our minds that eventually someday we would try to make that happen. Every year I would go and narrate this show there and see my kids just having a good time, and I'd think about the Snowball kids. And I talked to my partners, and we started talking about it. We started an event where we take some of our military service members who were going through cancer treatment, and we do an event there called Salute to the Troops, and we take them from Walter Reed and the different hospitals, and we take them down there. And some of the guys started going on those trips, and they started to see Disney World as this beautiful, magical place for kids. And so we got together and made the request to Disney, and that's why we're going.
Pretty incredible. You know, I believe this is the first year. Now, you've supported Snowball Express almost from the beginning, but this is the first year that it's a program, official program of the Gary Sinise Foundation. And I was watching a video, and you said, you know, now that it's an official program, you can help support it in new ways and help it evolve and grow. What are some of the plans and things that you hope to be able to do now that it's an official Gary Sinise Foundation program?
Well, one of my board members, Jim Palmersheim, he's an executive at American Airlines. He runs the Veterans Initiatives program. His job is to just take care of veterans for American Airlines. And so we've had a great friendship, great partnership for many, many years. And when we made this thing happen with Disney, there was going to be some additional costs, some additional logistics and things like that. And my foundation, after 7 years, has grown fairly strong. So Jim proposed to me that we fold Snowball Express in under my foundation. We have to raise additional funds. I'm going to be, talking about that. I want the American people to know there's a way to help give some hope back and give something back to these children. So they can donate to the Gary Sinise Foundation, and you can designate that if you want it to go to the Snowball Express event, and we will take that generosity and we will turn it into magic for the kids. My foundation has gotten pretty strong over the last couple of years. We're doing all kinds of things. We're building homes for our wounded. We're dealing with grieving families. We're providing entertainment all over the place. I take my band all over the place and play for them. I have a band, Lieutenant Dan Band. That's the name of it.
Oh, that's coming up. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're getting to that.
And it's all about the mission. So we're able to do a lot of cool things, and Snowball is our brand new program that we want to make a great first year for the Snowball kids.
Well, I believe Snowball puts it officially at, I want to say 10 programs, right, for the Gary Sinise Foundation. Speaking of which, guys, those watching at home and those here, you definitely want to go to the GarySiniseFoundation.org. That's www.GarySiniseFoundation.org, because we're going to talk about as many of these amazing programs as we can today, but it's not possible to get to all 10 of them, and each one of them are incredible. You did just mention the Lieutenant Dan Band. So I want to get to that. I saw you were at Disney, I think on Twitter or something, maybe a week ago or so. Recently, I saw a photo. You were at Disney.
I was doing a little recon for our Snowball event.
That was my theory. I bet you he's scouting spots for the band to set up is what he's looking for. He's looking for that. So you guys going to play this year? It's tradition.
Well, yeah, I take my band for the kids every year. You saw it on the video, and I was down there. I was looking at the spot where we're going to play this year and checking out some of the things that we're going to do, some magical things for the kids. Yeah, I bring them up on stage and we dance around together. It's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I was watching, just in that video, you just get a little snippet of it. There are a few things that I think bring joy than just watching a little kid dance. Because there's no sense to it. They're just exuberant and just happy and just having a great time. So I got to imagine this is one of the highlights for you of the 4 days, when you get to have all the kids come together and just kind of celebrate each other and have a beautiful moment together. Yeah. How long have you been playing together, the Lieutenant Dan Band? How long has that been going on, you guys?
Well, I started jamming with some guys, just playing around for fun back 20 years ago. And then after September 11th, when we started deploying to Iraq and Afghanistan, and our folks started getting hurt, and so we started losing people. I started to make trips, and I would go on handshake tours with the USO, and I just shake hands and take pictures and meet with the troops and visit with them in the war zones and around the world. And I had these musicians I played with, so eventually the USO said, "Okay, take them on a tour." So we started going on tours, and we played hundreds of shows now. And now the American people who support the Gary Sinise Foundation allow me to do a lot more, because their generosity supports the mission of the Lieutenant Dan Band. I don't make a living at it. This isn't what I do for a living. I have production expenses. I pay my band. I pay the production costs and everything. But much like the USO, the people that donate to the USO provides entertainment, and the American people support the USO, and they take that and they translate it by shipping out entertainment to the troops. That's what we do at the Gary Sinise Foundation with the Lieutenant Dan Band.
Yeah, I saw, you said, the number I believe I saw on the site was over 375 shows, which is an incredible number of shows. When you
we started in 2003, yeah.
Well, when you consider, because I was reading or watching something, I saw a story about you and your remarkable work ethic, that you would be on set, 5 days doing a show, and then Friday would come, and you'd finish up the shoot, you get on the plane, you grab your gear, you go out, you play a show on Saturday, you go out, you play a show on Sunday, you come back Monday, you're back on set working again. Was that the pattern? Yeah, exactly. You think about that and you go, when does he sleep? And two, when you're doing something like that, if that is in fact what the schedule was like or is like, are you aware of how much you're working in that moment, or are you just focused on the mission?
Just getting there, that's the hardest part. Once I'm there and I'm playing for everybody, it's always been fun. I mean, like I say, that's a lot of shows to play for free, but it's the reward is the service work. I feel like I've had some great success in the movie and television business. I can translate that into some good service work for people that are sacrificing a lot for us. And when you go out on these military bases, you visit these troops, you see these veterans, they don't have a lot and they don't ask for a lot, but we get a lot because they do a lot. So I'm just trying to give something back to them.
It's pretty incredible. I wanted, because we mentioned, of course, Lieutenant Dan Band, and I promise we won't go too far down this hole, but I'm curious, when someone gets an iconic role, they become known for a specific role, and they hear about it. There's one of two ways that goes. Sometimes people say, "No, I'm more than that. Don't identify me as that." Other people lean into it and realize it brings joy to people, and they use it to sort of embrace it and share it. And I'm wondering, early on, when you started to see how the veteran community was responding to Lieutenant Dan and how it resonated with them, how did that make you feel? What was that experience like when you saw, wow, this thing that I poured myself into is really resonating with this group?
I walked into this room, and there were a bunch of soldiers in there who weren't injured enough that they were going to be sent home, but they were going to be patched up and sent back to the battlefield. And I walked in, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. This was my very first trip. I was a little apprehensive. What am I going to see? The kinds of injuries and whatnot. And I walked in, didn't know what was going on. And this was before CSI New York, so people didn't know me that well. But one guy looked up and he goes, "Lieutenant Dan." And the whole mood in the room of these guys that were kind of banged up and just looking down, and they were, 1,000-yard stare from being on the battlefield and everything, the whole mood changed, and they all started calling me Lieutenant Dan. Nobody knew what my real name was. They all started calling me that. And then I went upstairs to see the patients that were in beds and that were really, really very, very badly injured. And the mood would change in there too, and they just wanted to talk about that movie all the time. And you know, the soldiers that I visited, they wanted to talk about Lieutenant Dan. I'd be there with a guy with no legs, and he'd just want to talk about that character. And I realized, hey, you know, that if that character opens up a door and allows them to communicate, allows them to share, allows them to talk, then he's, you know, I'm going to live with that, and that's okay by me.
Well, it's interesting. There was I saw a little trailer, I think, for Would Always Do a Little More, a film that seems to follow the foundation in your work. And I had always thought that the role of Lieutenant Dan was like the catalyst, sort of the seed sown for your passion for supporting our veterans. But in the trailer, it goes all the way back to Chicago in the early days there, the Steppenwolf Theater, and a play that you'd seen and all that. Is that, for you, is that the moment you identify as when this mission was sort of instilled, this sense of duty was instilled in you when you saw that performance?
Partially.
Yeah.
It's partially that, and it's partially the veterans in my own family. Anybody have military veterans in your family? Well, I have quite a few as well, and so I learned a lot from them at an early age, and then got involved with Vietnam veterans in the early 80s. Vietnam veterans on my wife's side of the family. And Vietnam veterans were not treated well when they came home. And, you know, I graduated high school the year that combat operations ended in Vietnam, so I just missed that. So the guys who were in Vietnam were just a little bit older than I was. And I learned quite a bit from them about what it was like to go, not only go off to war, fight the battle, but then come home and fight another battle, because the country was very divided at that time. And the country took it out on the veteran. And that really, the thought of that happening again today after September 11th and people signing up to go off to war to kind of in reaction to what happened on September 11th, it was troubling to me to think that they would come home and people would treat them badly. So I just wanted to go out there and say, I appreciate what you do. And so the seeds were planted many, many, many years ago. When I played Lieutenant Dan, I started working with our wounded. Through the Disabled American Veterans Organization, they contacted me. They brought me to the National Convention in 1994. I've been involved with them ever since. And then after September 11th, I just dove in and started doing all kinds of things, volunteering for many different military charities. Got involved with the FDNY here in New York and started supporting a lot of the, you know, 9/11 family members that were here. And I've met extraordinary people who inspire me every day to keep going.
Well, let's talk about that before we go to the audience Q&A about some of the ways that you've been that keep on going, so to speak. There's we have another couple of images. I want you to tell us about RISE, one of the programs under the foundation that I think is remarkable. A little bit about what RISE is. Yeah, here.
Okay, well, this is a triple amputee airman named Brian Kolfage. He was blown up in Balad, Iraq, at Camp Anaconda, which happens to be a place I was at in 2003. And Brian was just walking across the base, and a mortar came in and took his legs and his right arm. So this is one of our houses that we build for our wounded. We build specially designed smart technology homes that allow somebody like Brian to get around easily in his wheelchair. He can take a shower. He can be more independent because we've designed the house specifically for him. You can see those homes, a lot of our videos on our YouTube channel at the Gary Sinise Foundation website. There's a ton of videos that show all these homes. We have a lot of, you know, we have quadruple amputees too. This is Luis Avila, Captain Luis Avila. He has a very serious brain injury. He's confined to his wheelchair. His wife is his full-time caregiver because he can't take care of himself. So she takes care of him, and we built a house for them in right near Walter Reed. He has to be near Walter Reed because he's in physical therapy every single day.
It's such an incredible program. And RISE, for those that aren't on the site right now reading along here, restoring independence, supporting empowerment. And it's amazing, some of the houses and the work, and seeing their reactions to them. And you're giving them back their lives, basically. It's amazing what you guys have achieved with this program. What was the impetus for RISE? When did it start? How did this one come to be?
It actually started right here in New York City. The first surviving quadruple amputee was a soldier named Brendan Morocco. He's from Staten Island. He was blown up in 2009, in April of 2009. And I met him shortly after he arrived at Walter Reed, and some buddies of mine at the FDNY here, Sal Casano, who was the commissioner of the fire department, came to my set. I was shooting CSI New York, and he came to my set and he said, I want to tell you about this soldier who got blown up from Staten Island. He lost both his arms and both his legs. And I said, I know who you're talking about. I just saw him in the hospital a few months ago, and they wanted to build him a house here. So they asked me, I had raised some money through doing concerts for the FDNY to do some things, and they asked me if I would do a concert. I did a concert in Staten Island to help raise money, and that kind of started me on this this support mission to try to build homes. And eventually, when I started my own foundation, we created the RISE program, and now I've been involved in over 60 houses, I think, at this time.
It's amazing. All right, there's one more program I wanted to talk about, and again, we're only scratching the surface, guys. You have to go to GarySiniseFoundation.org to see all of the programs, and as well as you can contribute, you can be a part of this amazing solution. You can donate, and realize when you donate, you can specify a program. If I want to donate to Snowball Express, you can do that as well.
You can designate money to a house.
To a house as well, yeah.
Snowball Express. You can designate to any one of our programs, or just say you want it to go wherever we need it.
That's fantastic. All right, the last one I want to talk to you about, which I think is another wonderful program, Soaring Valor. And I think we have an image to accompany this as well. Tell us a little bit about what Soaring Valor is.
So my uncle, Uncle Jack, served in World War II. Anybody with World War II veterans in your family? So my Uncle Jack was a navigator on a B-17 bomber over Europe. He died at 90 years old, and down in New Orleans is the National World War II Museum. That's where you'd think it'd be in Washington, D.C., but it's actually in New Orleans, because one of the founders, the two founders, were from New Orleans, Stephen Ambrose, who wrote Band of Brothers, and Nick Mueller. And so they created, and there's some other reasons, but they built the museum there. I've had a wonderful relationship with them over the years. I narrate some content at the museum. Tom Hanks got me involved in that, and I did the voice of Ernie Pyle, and there's a movie that plays there, Beyond All Boundaries. Anyway, I sent my uncle down there. After I got involved with them, I sent him there, and he loved it, and they recorded him on video, like they do with a lot of World War II veterans. They have an entire library of World War II veterans talking about their experiences, over 10,000 oral histories. When my uncle died, I asked them to send me his oral history on DVD, and I watched it, and I was very choked up, very moved. And so I called them, and I said, how can I help other families get these DVDs? So we started funding, through the Gary Sinise Foundation, a historian to go out and record these veterans. And I also went to American Airlines, my great friends and partners, and said, how can we create a program where we could fly World War II veterans to the museum? So now we've taken hundreds of World War II veterans down to the museum on charter airplanes. And it's just a wonderful program, and now we're pairing up high school kids with the veterans. So each high school student will travel with a World War II veteran and learn from them for 3 days. They'll sit with them, they'll talk with them, they'll walk through the museum with them. The veterans will talk about their experiences. Veterans will share their stories of what it was like to be in World War II. And these kids' lives are changed. You can look at the Soaring Valor YouTube videos on our channel there on our website, and it's very powerful and very moving to see this greatest generation talking to this new generation and telling them what the cost of freedom really is and what it takes to preserve it.
It really is, and I keep saying it, but honestly, all of the videos, they are incredible to watch. It is very moving, and I love, too, that every one of these programs we've talked about, how personal they all start with a personal story, and it just sort of speaks to, this really is the Gary Sinise Foundation. This is you working so hard with an amazing team of people to bring all these things together, and it's just fantastic. I'll say it one more time, guys. You got to go to GarySiniseFoundation.org to read about all the other programs we didn't even get to touch on yet. I do want to keep my word, though, and take some questions from the audience. I said I'd do that. So let's go ahead. We got some mics in the room. First one's going to be right here.
This is an online question from Catherine Hotchkiss. Who do you feel was the most influential person in your life?
Oh, gosh. There's influential. There's so many in different aspects of my life. It'd be hard to pin one down. I mean, certainly I have a lot of veterans in my family who have a big influence on me in terms of veteran support. Then there's, on the acting side, I had a wonderful drama teacher when I was in high school who changed my life when I was walking down a hallway. I was just kind of a ragtag looking kid playing in a rock band, and she told me to go audition for a play, and I thought, okay, sure, yeah, that sounds good. But I went to the audition. I was standing outside just wondering what to do, and all the pretty girls were going in there, so I just followed them in. I auditioned for the play, and it changed my life. It turned my life in a different direction because I discovered acting, and I discovered this thing that I ended up being able to do for my entire life and to make a living at. And it's rare when somebody in high school actually finds the thing that they're going to do in their life. Sometimes it takes a while to find that. I found it early on. It was because this lady just told me to go to audition for a play, and she's still alive. She's a wonderful lady. So, you know, and my parents, I mean, there's just so many people that have influenced me over, and the actors that I started watching, too. I mean, when I was a kid, I was watching Pacino and De Niro and Hackman and Nicholson. And do you know who they are? These were the guys that were really cutting their teeth when I was a young guy and studying. So a lot of that. There's the career. There's the veterans work, which is so many. There's people here at the FDNY who've inspired me and changed my life. Too many people to credit in one sitting, but I admire them and appreciate all of them.
We got time for a few more questions. I just want to ask a quick follow-up to that. You know, you mentioned in one of your videos that all the work you'd done, you know, on stage, off stage, in front of the camera, behind the camera, all of that was laying the foundation, laying the groundwork for the work that you're doing now. When you look back on those early days, go all the way back to Chicago, to Steppenwolf and all that, is there a specific thing, a skill, or a thing that you learned that you find yourself leveraging even to this day, or a tool that you find yourself pulling out even to this day, that I'm glad I had this experience back then because I use it all the time?
You know what I learned is to trust my instincts. And sometimes it takes you a while to do that because you're second-guessing yourself all the time. Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right decision to make? Ooh, I'm not sure, you know, oh God, maybe I'll wait and see if somebody else does it or something like that. And as time went on, I realized that I was kind of an intuitive person. I do things intuitively. I was never a good student. I was a terrible student, in fact. I daydreamed my way through school, and I ended up having to go back to high school when my class graduated and went to college because I didn't have enough credits. I just wasn't good at academic stuff. But what I learned is that I did have this intuitive kind of do-it-yourself sort of take action kind of thing that seemed to be working for me. And the more I did it, the more I succeeded with that, the more I relied on it, and the more I said, well, that's me.
You know, it's funny, we had a bunch of astronauts here last week. One of them said they failed kindergarten. One of them said they failed earth science. They're astronauts. Never count yourself out. I know, earth science, right, of all things. All right, we got two more. Next one's going to be right here in the front row.
Hi, I actually have a piece of your wardrobe from Mission to Mars, which I brought to show you.
Oh, my gosh.
I was just wondering if you ever had the opportunity from any of the amazing movies and shows that you've been on, like Forrest Gump, Mission to Mars, CSI New York, if you ever had an opportunity to take a prop or wardrobe home with you, and which one is your favorite if you did?
No, because you took them.
I did take a few things. Yeah. You know, sometimes you do. I was issued some dog tags in Forrest Gump that they wanted me to wear in the movie. They were my dog tags as a soldier. I was playing a soldier. They wanted, and my brother-in-law, Jack Treese, was a Vietnam veteran, and he had dog tags that he kind of made into like these little rosary beads, and then he put his dog tags on the end of the beads. He wasn't Catholic, but he always said he just wanted all the help he could get, so he made it. He made these rosary beads and put his dog tags on it. And if you look at the movie, very first shot, you see me, and I've got these rosary beads with the dog tag on it. Well, I ended up wearing those in the movie and not using the dog tags that they issued me, so I just put them in my pocket and I left. And they're hanging in my office now.
We've got time for one more question. It's going to be right here in the back.
Hi. Since you worked with a lot of veterans and children, and I'm a child of a veteran, my dad just recently retired. I was just curious about your thoughts on, like, do you have any programs that, like, steer towards, like, mental illness? Because veterans and PTSD are just, you know, that stigma is just very off lately, I feel like.
Yes, I'm involved with some initiatives. We have a mentoring program at my foundation that deals with some of that, with younger returning Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. We aren't in the mental health space as much. Our programs are designed to support improving mental health, but there are other professionals that are doing great things out there in many, many ways, and I'm involved in a couple of them. One would be the Marcus Institute for Brain Health. They're in Denver, and they're specifically focusing on post-traumatic stress and veterans that are struggling with that. It's an all-expenses paid trip to the institute there for members. I would, if anybody's having trouble that you know with this kind of thing, dealing with post-traumatic stress, mental health issues, traumatic brain injury, that kind of thing, and you think that they could use a little extra support and help, I would encourage you to look into the Marcus Institute for Brain Health. It was funded by Bernie Marcus, who founded Home Depot. And they started this institute, and their wish is to spread them all over the country. But right now they have one in Denver, and as I said, if you get accepted into that program, it's a 4-week program, and they will bring you there, and they'll put you up, and they'll take good care of you there.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for all your questions, guys. That was wonderful. We have to wrap things up. Yeah, I got to say, we live in a very crazy time, but I think one thing everyone everywhere can universally agree on is that the brave young and women that go out there and do what they do so we can live in this crazy time deserve our support. And you, sir, have done an incredible job of not only showing them and giving them that support, but giving us a way to also help and give our support as well. GarySiniseFoundation.org. Everybody, go to it, watch the videos, give some money and support, get involved, be a part of these programs. They're incredible programs. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and hang out with us. I hope you had a good time here.
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
You're
fantastic.
great, man.
Everybody, one more time. Gary Sinise, come on.